A boss mom doesn't allow society to tell her that her goals no longer matter. She handles her business both inside and outside of the home. Welcome to the Boss Mom Movement Podcast with me, your host, Ashley White, where you'll hear me speak with millennial moms who have not allowed the title mom to stop them from achieving their goals. During this podcast series, we'll discuss how we balance it all and other mom-related topics. It's a space for all my bossy mamas, whether you're an entrepreneur, mama in corporate, or both. Being a boss mom isn't easy, but it's our lifestyle. So with that being said, all right, boss moms, let the movement begin. Hey, Boss Moms, welcome back for another episode of the Boss Mom Movement Podcast. You are here for Season 5, Episode 5, From Single Mom to Boss Mom. And I have a special mom, Miss Genetra White, who is a content creator and an entrepreneur here to talk with us about her journey through being a single mom and just bossing up and leveling up. So I'm ready to get into the conversation. I'm going to hand her the mic to do her introduction. And welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. My name is Genetra White. I am a mom, obviously, entrepreneur, and content creator. A little bit about me. I am based in Texas, born and raised. And I think what probably put me on your radar would be my Instagram content and the fact that I recently published my first book, which is called Girl Do Your Thing, from single mom to super boss. Yeah.
Yes. So let's get into it because that is exactly what put you on my radar. I just was inspired to read about what your book was about and just wanted to learn more about your journey as a single mom and becoming super boss mom. So as far as your experience as a single mom, how was that balance? Like, I don't know if you were doing content creation then or if you were working 9 to 5, but what did that look like for you as far as your job and then balancing that with spending time with your kids or kid at the time, which was
Right. Right. So I actually became a single mother. I got pregnant my first year as a public school teacher. And so she was born the summer after that first year. And so for me, I was kind of just starting my career because at that time, that was the trajectory that I was taking. I owned a business as well. I owned a hair extension business that was very, very pretty well known. I did very good that year in the business, but I eventually had to kind of make a decision because I was overwhelmed being a first year teacher and also being pregnant for the first time. And I was, on top of all of that, I was in a new city away from family. I was living in Dallas, Texas at the time. And so I kind of tabled that business. But I always had in the back of my mind, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so I knew that there would be other businesses that, that was just a temporary season. But that everything would come full circle. And so I had my daughter. I went into my second year of teaching, and then, I taught for a couple of years. I ended up, when I had her, I had to move back to my hometown, which is, small town, Waco, Texas. And so I moved back, and, a little bit of what I talk about in my book, it's like my journey as a single mom, but still living life on my own terms. And so one of the things that was important to me when I left the bigger city and moved back with my parents was I don't want to rent an apartment anymore. So my goal was home ownership. So I actually moved in with my parents for the first, I would say, almost the first year of her life, and decided to build a home. And one of the things that I talk about in my book is all of the pushback that I got regarding that. That was one of the first big things that I had done as a single mother. And,
Mm-hmm.
everybody had like an opinion about why this was such a big deal, but to me, for all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, are you sure you can afford this? Do you think this is too much house for just you and your baby? Like, this is a big house. Who's going to help you take care of it? What happens? The big one was what happens when you meet someone and that's not his house, or, he didn't help you build it, or if he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
like it. And so mentally, I had to kind of just tell myself, like, this isn't about what ifs or the
Right.
future. This is about what I want for
For
me and
right
my daughter
now.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you can focus on is the right now. And so, that was one of the first, big things that I did. Um, and so had my home built. We moved into it, and then I decided that I was going to become a principal. And so I went back to school to get my master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was just another thing. It was like, well, do you think, and not even coming from my family, because my family's always been very supportive. My parents are, and they know that whatever I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do.
Right.
But just outside influences, are you sure you're going to be able to, spend time with your daughter if you're back in school and you're working and, XYZ? But honestly, I just made it work. I'm a firm believer that if there's anything out there that you want, all you have
Mm-hmm.
to do is make up your mind, and say what it is you want and then go get it.
Right.
And so, there were a lot of times when I had to, put her to bed and stay up
Mm-hmm.
until, 2, 3, 4 in the morning doing work, and then get up, go to work the next day.
Hey, boss moms. Sorry to interrupt. I know you're enjoying this episode, but I had to come share with you the Boss Mom Mastermind Group. I am currently accepting signups through the month of August for this mentorship group where we're able to share our goals, motivate each other with resources, strategies to help us get to the next level within our businesses and our careers. This group will meet on a bi-weekly basis virtually, and then we'll meet in person on a quarterly basis. You can sign up at thebossmommovement.com. I hope to see you there. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, now let's get back to this episode.
I did have an advantage because my parents were a really big blessing during that time. They would, pick her up, they would keep her for the day. They would, help me. My mom would come over and help me clean my house if I needed her to, and cook for us. And, my dad helped with all the yard work and cars and all that stuff. So I was fortunate to have that. But a lot of it was just managing my time well, and
Mm-hmm.
just prioritizing things. So in that particular season, I wasn't really dating much. It just wasn't a priority for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit jaded, and I was just of the mindset that I don't want to look for anybody. I don't want to invest any energy or any time into anybody.
Right.
Um, I just want to build this life for me and my daughter, because that's the only guaranteed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the guaranteed relationship, is the relationship between me and my child. And so I'm just going to build this life for us.
Right.
Um, so I wasn't really dating much during that time. And occasionally when I would like venture out, I was very quick to like red flag, gotta go.
Yeah.
Um, so there were a lot of times when, people barely made it in the gate before, they were getting canceled. Cause
Yeah.
I just didn't have time for it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, a lot going on. Yeah.
right, right, right. I had a
Mm-hmm.
career. I had my own house. I owned all my cars. You know, I just didn't need a man for anything. And so I figured if I don't need a man, then if I do get somebody, it needs to be somebody I at least want.
Right. Right.
And
That's
so,
true.
and so since I know I don't need you, it's your job to make sure that I want you.
Right.
Um,
Ooh, that's a bar.
and and I just didn't at the time come across anybody that just made me feel like, oh, I want him. I
Mm-hmm.
met a lot of people who brought a lot of different things to the table, but just none of the things that were priorities for me. And I think you asked about like boundaries and things like that. Not really a boundary, but one of the like red flags that would get somebody canceled was, I would tell people off the top that, I have a daughter. And even if, I don't let them meet her for whatever reason in the beginning, it would be a red flag to me if I would go, a week or 2 weeks or whatever, talking to this person and they didn't frequently ask about her. Even just like casually, just, hey,
how's she doing?
what's she up to? How's she doing?
Yeah.
Because I did come across some men where it felt like they would kind of just like gloss over the fact that, because I guess, I don't know if it's because they hadn't met her or they just didn't know that they were, I don't know, but it would just be a red flag to me if I would be talking to someone on the phone or even having gone out on a date with them or something, and then following up with them and they would never mention, my child.
Yeah. That's important though. Like,
right.
I mean, because you are a mom and typically like you would be wanting somebody that probably wants kids, right? If they don't already have kids. And then just having that mindset that there is a child in the picture, because if you're dating me to see this on a long term, eventually you would meet her, right? And so it's like you want to know up front, are you a person that is okay with me having a child? Are you okay with children being in the picture at all? Because for all they know, like maybe you want more, and it's just like I need to know how you feel about this. But then also, like, do you really care about me and my child? Like, if you're not asking, so I definitely, that would be a red flag to me as well. Because if you're getting to know me, you should be wanting to get to know all of me, and that includes my child.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I think that also comes with like being upfront with people. So one thing that was important to me was to like lay all my cards out on the table from the beginning before I invested any time or any attention to anybody. And I know like these days it's kind of like it's cool to just, I don't know, like they say, like just vibe with somebody and be chill and low key and all that. But I was not about that. It was important to me to let it be known from the first conversation, not the first like opening line, but within the first conversation, like the reason why I'm entertaining people, the reason why I'm venturing into dating is because I would like to have a husband one day. I'm not out here just to have friends. Like I didn't need any friends. I didn't have time for friends. Like I didn't have time to make new friends that were men. And so, and a lot of times that would either scare them away, in which case I was like, great, happy to see you go. Or would just kind of like make them work a little harder.
Which is nothing wrong with that.
Right. And then just like being okay with if people are not on that same page and being able to say, okay, like we're both cool. We had a good time, but we don't want the same thing. So, and that's okay. Like, I don't need to hate you for it, but we're just not going to work out.
Right. A few things you mentioned early on when you were talking about just your journey as far as your professional life. I definitely wanted to highlight that it seemed like you had your trajectory in your career as far as going from the teacher to the principal. That was something that and I'm assuming, was that already your goals prior to having your daughter as far as your career?
Yes. So, well, kind of. So, I kind of fell into teaching. I graduated college and I was like in the midst of taking the LSAT and getting ready for law school, but still kind of like figuring out what I wanted to do. Because I was always like trying to find things that I was good at and I can make work, but I knew like just deep down inside, I didn't want to work for anybody. So I was just trying things that, okay, I can be good at, I can make a lot of money. And for me, like I started teaching, my sister was a teacher at the time. She's now a principal. She's
Okay.
been in education for over a decade, and she loves it. She lives and breathes it. Um, and so I was like, you know what? I'll go become a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I majored, one of my majors, I double majored in,
Okay.
was Spanish. And so I really love the Spanish language. And so I was like, it'll be really cool to be a Spanish teacher.
Right.
And so I got my certification to teach that. And then, obviously with anything that I've ever done, like I want to be extra. So I was like, I don't just want to be a teacher. Like I want to make the big bucks and,
Right.
be at the top. So if I'm gonna be in education, like I'm gonna be a principal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my trajectory. Before I got pregnant with my daughter, I had actually moved to Dallas. Um, I had accepted my first teaching position and moved to Dallas for that job.
Okay.
And so,
But I
but
think
yeah, like
that's good.
fast forward to today, I'm no longer teaching. I taught for 7 years, and then that was enough. I'm a full time entrepreneur now. Um, but yeah, at the time, that was my goal, and so
Mm-hmm. But, and that's good though. I wanted to confirm because you didn't allow becoming a mom stop you. You went on to get your
right,
master's and,
right,
you kept going. And then I'm sure at some point too, having your daughter increased that motivation to continue
yeah,
on into your goals, and making sure you check things off. Because I find that, a lot of times when we do have our kid and we have these goals that we're wanting to execute on, they're part of that motivation, right? Because we want to
right,
make sure that we're doing something that makes not only us proud, but them proud.
hmm,
And so I think it's
right,
so important that, you were able to continue doing that. And even going back home, like, people may have had things to say and, trying
right,
to essentially stop you, right, from doing what you said you were going to do because they're
hmm,
questioning your ability to do it.
yeah,
And one thing I always highlight when we're getting into things that we want to do in life is the structure, because a lot of times people don't feel like, us as moms can handle all of the things that we need to handle
right,
that's on our plate. And one thing I always tell people is like, your support system, everybody's support system looks different,
hmm,
but how you mentioned your parents were very supportive
yeah,
of you going back to school and having your daughter and helping you out, because we can't do it all.
right,
But I always tell people, like, everybody's support system looks different, because like you had your parents, I have my parents as well, in addition to my son's, my boyfriend's mom. So his grandparents are always helping with him. And
right,
we appreciate those things because it does allow us to do other things outside
yeah,
of parenthood, right? And so
right,
it's so important, like whether it's your parents, brother, sister, auntie,
hmm,
niece, nephew, friends,
yeah,
that you
yeah,
have in your circle that can help you, and so you can elevate, right? Because if you're going back to
right,
school, or like for me, it was I was at work trying to get a promotion, which I was having to
hmm,
do extra work. So it's like, okay, I
right,
might have to stay online a little past 5, and
hmm,
just having that help, or just having somebody come to my home, because I work from home. While I'm on
hmm,
calls, I have somebody there, to entertain him, because he just turned 1. So he's still in that stage where he needs
right,
all the attention.
uh-huh, yeah,
But that support system is so important. And I'm so happy that you was able to have that as you
yeah,
were, looking to advance in your career during that
yeah,
time. So what do you feel
yeah.
was one of your biggest obstacles as a single mom that you were able to overcome?
Okay, let's see. Honestly, I think, and I say this as an obstacle to being a single mom, but for me, it's just an obstacle to being a mom, period.
Mm-hmm.
Because I faced some of the same challenges as a wife and a mom as I did as a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it would just be just time
Mm-hmm.
and being intentional with time. And so
Definitely.
having like structured like days for certain things, and um, then also it's easy for me to just like go 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 go, and then when
Mm-hmm.
it comes time to do something for myself that does not have to do with business or money or success or something like that. Just to do, something simple like go get a pedicure. It's like a chore.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta go get my nails done because I got something
Right.
coming up. So I need to do this. And so I think just being intentional and like, for me, it was coming up with a calendar. And if I put it on the calendar, I'm more committed to it. And so even the simplest things like, okay, if I know that I'm gonna need to go get my toes done for this event or whatever, I'm gonna find a day and a time that I think is gonna work and write it on my calendar so that when I wake up that morning, I'm looking at my day, I know that this is a priority for today. It's not like, oh, it'd be nice to get that done today, but this is one of the things I need to get done today. And even like
that's definitely something across the board as a mom, because that's definitely me. Like, I have a calendar.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy now because I will even put like what days like I'm gonna sweep and mop on the calendar. Like, I'm gonna mop on Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. Like,
yeah. Because you got to make sure it gets done and that you have the time, to do it, and just saying like, okay, hey, to whomever, whether it's your husband or like, I need you to really step in right now because I need to go do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So, and that's why I say it's kind of the same across the board between being a single mom and being a wife and a mom. Now, like, I just literally added him to my calendar. So everything I put on my calendar, it goes to his phone too. And so
I need to start doing that too, because I get a lot of
it helps I forgot. A lot of days, like, we may not get time to just sit and really connect and go over like what's coming up. And so sometimes it helps, like, if he's at work and he's not checking his phone all day, or he gets home and it's automatically kids are all over the place and they got to eat dinner and get in the bathtub and go to bed. So if I just put it on the calendar, then when he gets a moment or when he's laying down, like, he can look and still see like, oh, she put that on the calendar and that's what she has, going on. And he definitely does not check it as much as I do. I check it all day, every day. And usually I'm asking him like, hey, did you see what I put on the calendar? And he's like, oh, let me go look. But yeah, it helps, especially because now I wear so many different hats. And even when I was writing my book, it was very hard because I had even more kids. This was after I, had already had my daughter and I had already gotten married. And, I went back to write about my process from being a single mom up to then. And there was like many times when everybody in the house would go to sleep and I would, get out of my bed at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and just write until like the sun came up.
But I find that it's just so much you can get done when everybody is asleep and my mind I'm focused the same way.
Yeah. And there's not so much, like, I know everybody's asleep, so I can't get distracted and be like, oh, it's a crumb, let me go vacuum instead of doing what I need to do.
Exactly. No, exactly. So I'm glad you brought up the book because I definitely want to know what was the inspiration behind even becoming an author and taking that next step in writing a book.
I guess my main inspiration was just wanting to share like my story and the things that I've learned with other women. Because, being on Instagram and having a large following, I get a lot of women that are inspired. And so, or just a lot of women that are like, man, I can't believe like you did that. And, just in awe, like, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I, could own my own house, and X, Y, and Z. And so, I was constantly like pouring into people like in DMs and like, just in life. And I was like, why don't I just put this all on paper so anybody can read it? So that was my main inspiration. And it's funny because even now, like my oldest, she's 7 now. And she like tells everybody like, did you know my mommy wrote a book? And
That's
like,
so cute.
and her pictures on the front.
Oh, that's so cute. I'm sure that makes you feel
Uh,
amazing just to know like your baby is super proud.
yeah. And she's just
Yeah.
a constant reminder. She's seen like my vision boards and all
Hmm.
that. And she'll ask me like, Mommy, are you a millionaire yet? Because I saw that on your vision board.
Hey, Boss Moms. Sorry to interrupt. I know you're enjoying this episode, but I had to come share with you the Boss Mom Mastermind Group. I am currently accepting signups through the month of August for this mentorship group where we're able to share our goals, motivate each other with resources, strategies to help us get to the next level within our businesses and our careers. This group will meet on a bi-weekly basis virtually, and then we'll meet in person on a quarterly basis. You can sign up at thebossmommovement.com. I hope to see you there. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, now let's get back to this
Holding
episode.
you accountable at
Yeah.
7. Look at her.
Yeah. Because like I'll forget that it even like it's on there and she'll just bring it up one day. Like,
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. So with your book, and go ahead, share the title of the book.
so my book is called Girl Do Your Thing. And the subtitle is From Single Mom to Super Boss.
I love it. So if y'all are ever wondering out there, if you need some motivation knowing how to do your thing and how to come up, level up,
Mhm.
that's all I like to say.
Yeah.
Definitely tap in with Miss
Yeah.
Genetra so you can get
And
that book and we'll share.
it's
Or
on
go ahead.
Amazon. Yeah. It's
Oh,
available on Amazon. Yeah, but I talk about a lot of things. I talk about buying my house, getting my master's degree. I talk a lot about finances and how I saved my first $100,000. So that was like one of those things that I told myself. Like I give myself these big, crazy goals, and then
mm-hmm.
I just decide, okay, I'm gonna get it done, like whatever
Yeah.
it takes.
Well, no
So that was
vision
one
is
of
too small. So
right,
I
right.
want to hear about it. If you don't mind sharing how you saved your first 100,000, because I need to be taking notes.
Yeah. I won't get into like all the details, but basically there's and I share a lot of these like tips on my Instagram. For a while there I was doing what's called Finance Fridays. So every Friday I was posting a post like dedicated to finances. But some of the main things that I advice that I give to anybody is a mentality of save first. Because it's like a game changer because a lot of times our mentality like we grow up to think that we save whatever is left, um, when we need to change our thinking to we save off top, like we save like we tithe like first,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then we live off what's left.
Hmm.
So if you put in your calculator, I want to save 10,000 this year. Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be or I want to say, let's say, 6,000 this year. It's going to be $500 a month that I need to
Mm-hmm.
save so I can get $6,000 at the end of the year. Um, then when you get paid, that 500 goes in the savings account first.
Right.
Then you pay, your bills, and then whatever's left, that's what you live off of and you splurge with. Instead of, I'm gonna pay my bills, I'm gonna go have fun, I'm gonna buy me a purse and do that, and then if I got $20 left at the end of the month, I'm gonna transfer that to savings. Um, and so that was something that it just became a habit to me. Like any money
Mm-hmm.
I got, I transferred to my savings, whatever I had set aside. That was like that important amount. Um, and that was one of the big things. And then
That's
just
definitely a good way of
finding,
thinking.
yeah, and then just finding ways to supplement your income. Like I'm a firm believer in like people will pay for convenience. People will pay for anything that they cannot do for themselves. And so
Yes.
everybody has a
Our
talent,
people.
you know, everybody has a gift or talent that you can monetize. Like it can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to do something that five people who don't know how to do it, you can make
Mm-hmm.
money doing that. Outside of your 9 to 5 or whatever you have going on.
Right.
And that's kind of how I fell into content creation. because
Okay.
I used to, a long time ago when YouTube first came around, I would get like gifted things, just, and so it was always like, man, people are going to give me this product that I like in exchange for a review. And that was like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember like the first time I saw that a company was like gifting the product and paying for a post. And I was like, wait, somebody can give you the product and still pay you to promote
Right.
it. And I was like, huh. And so that started like my content creation journey and just, reaching at that time, reaching out to brands and things like that. But really
Mm-hmm.
just like finding a way, like whatever the goal
Yeah.
is, just find a way to make it work, you know. Um,
So how did you know you wanted to go into content creation? Like, what was there a sign like, hey, maybe I should tap into this?
um, I kind of fell into it. I used to just like I was on YouTube just playing around for some years, and then I moved over to
Mm-hmm.
Instagram when it became popular. But it was really just family and friends, and this was probably around 2011,
Okay.
2000, maybe 2012. Essence magazine had put up an article of like natural hair influencers that you need to follow,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on there. And then like overnight, like I went from like the 500 people that I knew on Instagram to like
Mm-hmm.
9,000.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm like, you know, on YouTube, I used to just make videos and put them out there. And, a couple people, I had like 1,500 followers, and that was
Mm-hmm.
that. And I just kind of stopped doing it. But I really enjoyed Instagram because I was already sharing my life on Instagram with my family and everything, anyways. And
Right.
so I was like, okay, well, why not share with these people? Um, and that's just kind of how it started. And now I just enjoy it because it builds such a sense of community. And so not only do I get to document my life because it's like for me it's fun to like look back at like my memories today, last year, and see like, oh, this is
Right.
what the kids were doing, and this is what I was doing, and this is what we were doing. But on the other hand, it also like builds a community because I get to connect with people that I would never have met any other way.
Exactly.
Um, like I just recently attended a ladies' brunch that was literally like one of my neighbors, we met walking through the neighborhood while we were both pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and she's a content creator, and she has connected with all these other women on Instagram and ended up
Mm-hmm.
just hosting a brunch um, of all
Yeah.
these
It
women.
definitely does give you, a larger community to outreach and meet with. So I can definitely see
Yeah,
that being a huge benefit as well.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
making a income from it is definitely a bonus. um,
Exactly. It's like,
you
oh, I
know,
could just wake up and get a check. It's just like,
yeah. And my family is like, wait, people are paying you for Instagram? And I'm like, yeah.
it's
And
crazy,
they're like,
right? The
their minds
times
are
that we're
just
in.
blown.
No, that is good. So are you I know you're an entrepreneur, author, so doing content creation, do you have any other businesses? Did you bring back the hairline, or is there anything additional that you've brought on to your plate?
So I did not bring back the hairline, just because
Okay.
I felt like once I got my feet under me and, my daughter was here and I was moving in my career with teaching, I just kind of felt like the market was so saturated for
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I kind of I stuck with teaching, getting my master's. I was working my way up to being a principal at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
every year that I got closer and closer to becoming a principal, I got more and more uncomfortable in education. And
Mm-hmm.
it just started to become something that I dread. I dread it just because of the culture and the environment,
Yeah.
and just the school systems here where I am. From the administration to the parents to the kids, like it's just it needs a
Yeah.
lot of work. And so, but when I was so fast forward, my husband and I got pregnant, and so we blended our families. My daughter was 2 at the time. His daughter was 1. Um, and so we blended our families, and then we had our son, who he's almost 3 now. And when I was pregnant with
Mm-hmm.
him, I decided I'm going to get a camera, just so I can document, like when he gets here, I can, you know, have pictures of the kids and just document all of that. And so I picked up a camera, to do that. I was like, I don't have to pay somebody to every milestone and book an appointment and go get pictures taken. I'll just get a camera and learn how to work it. And I've always been the person where, like, if I can teach myself how to do it, I'm just going to teach myself how to do it.
Right.
And so I did that. And while I was pregnant with him, I started taking pictures of our daughters, and people were like, "Oh, can you take pictures of my kids?" And so I'm like, "Okay." And so I started taking pictures of other people's kids, and then I had my son, and then I took his newborn pictures, and people were like, "Well, can you take my newborn pictures?" And so, fast forward, I'm still teaching. I just got my master's, trying to go in to be a principal, and then now I'm doing like this little side hustle of photography. Um, and at the end of that first full year in business, it got to the point where, like, teaching was getting in the way of photography. I was basically working 2 full-time careers.
Right.
And so, I set a goal, and I was like, I don't even remember like the exact number, but I was like, if I can make X amount this month teaching while I'm up doing photography while I'm still working, then I
Mm-hmm.
know that if I quit teaching and go full time in photography, that I can survive.
Right.
And so this was during the pandemic and everything else. So everything was just, all the issues in education were just brought to light. So fast forward to 2021, just things became horrible at work. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I resigned. I was like, I'm going to open a photography studio. And so I went and signed a lease on a studio, um, turned in my keys for teaching, picked up my keys for my studio. Um, and then that was last year. And so at the end of the year, my photography business, grossed almost $100,000, that year. And so, like, the moment that I stopped teaching, it's like my business tripled. Um,
Wow.
and so,
So that was like your sign, though. Like you said,
it
you
was my
basically
sign.
lost your passion for education. You
Right.
were getting different signs that, hey, it might be
Right.
time to
Yeah.
move on from
Yeah. I
this.
was getting very uncomfortable, very unhappy. And my husband even noticed. He's like, when Sunday hits, like the closer it gets to Sunday night, like your whole mood just declines. And it's like, because mentally I'm like, I have to get ready for this week. And
Mm-hmm.
and being somewhere that I don't want to be, doing something I don't want to do. Um, and I was just like, it's not fun to leave my family all day and go do this, so
Right.
I want to be doing something where it doesn't feel taxing for me to have to leave the house to go do it. And so now, like, when I go to my studio to do a session, I'm excited. Like, I'm
Yeah.
ready to photograph whoever I have that day. And just,
And it's
to have
yours.
that freedom, and it's mine. And,
Yeah.
I call the shots, and,
Exactly.
um, you know, so
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I think that's good that, even just talking about the signs, because a lot of times we wonder, like, okay, is this what I'm
yeah.
supposed to be doing? Or how do I know? Like, a lot of people that are transitioning from working a 9 to 5, going into entrepreneurship, they look for that
Yeah.
sign. Like, how do I know?
Yeah.
Or how do I prepare for this transition?
Mhm.
And, I always, like, for me anyway, I was like you, or am like you currently, working a 9 to 5 and having those side hustles. And, I'm to the point, I love what I do. So I haven't lost the
Mhm.
passion yet as far as my career, my 9 to 5 career is going. Um, but in the future, I do foresee that I will leave corporate and just full time entrepreneur. I'm just at a point now,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which side hustle is going to be that actually takes
Right.
me away. And I'll be happy
Mhm.
doing that, full time, because I like to say that I'm a part time entrepreneur, but I honestly feel like you're not really a part-time. There's really no such thing as a part-time entrepreneur, because most of the time you get
No.
off that 9 to 5 job, and then the rest of the day, night, or what have you, week through the weekend, maybe even, you're doing that part-time side hustle. And I'm just like, I feel I'm putting
Right.
in the same 8 hours or more, in the side hustle.
Right.
So I'm like, is it really
Right.
part-time, or do I just have
Right.
2 or 3 multiple full-time positions?
Right. And for me, it was like leaving the career, it freed up the time for my passion for, for my part time to grow. And so I feel like
Exactly.
I was stifled. I didn't even know the full potential that my business could take because I was still
Mm-hmm.
working, as a teacher full time. And it was once
Exactly.
I no longer had that responsibility that I was able to, go full in, and then my business
Mm-hmm.
just flourished.
Exactly. Exactly. And I hear that a lot too, just from entrepreneurs that did have 9 to 5s. It's like, once they stop, everything just pretty much scaled up with their
Mhm.
side hustles, because you have more time to put into it and do
And
more
you have
things,
more invested too,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like
Exactly.
now it's on me. Like if I don't
Right.
work, I don't eat. Like I have
Yep.
to get it done. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not a extra income that's just like, oh, that's a good extra income. It's like this is
Exactly.
now my main income, so I have by any means necessary, I got to figure it out.
Exactly. I always say to my boyfriend, I'm like, I feel like, people talk about entrepreneurship like, oh, you should be an entrepreneur. But I'm like, entrepreneurship is hard, because
Hmm.
just like what you said, if you don't get up and do the work, it doesn't just fall out of the sky. At least with the 9 to 5, okay, every 15, 30th or whatever the pay period, you're going to get that check, right? So you
Right,
could
right,
depend on that. But it's like with the entrepreneurship, it's like, okay, I don't know what the outcome is going to be.
yeah,
I know I got to do the work, but that doesn't
yeah,
mean it's going to equate, what I want
yeah,
at that time, right? But
right,
it's
right.
like I said, no vision is too small, and you were able to make it happen and
Yeah,
transition out. So definitely kudos to you
thank
on
you.
that. So what you put, I know the title, from single mom to super boss. So what do
Hmm.
you feel so far? Because I know you still have so far to go within
Yeah.
your entrepreneurial life. But so far, what would you say is your most super boss mom moment that you've had within your journey as an entrepreneur? Or even if
Mm.
well, I don't know if you consider before, like at what point you even said, I made it to my super boss mom status, but so far with
Um,
all you've done,
okay.
what would you say?
Man, there's a lot. I mean, definitely writing the book itself, because that was like a labor of love. And it was like when
Mhm.
it was finally done, I was just like, wow, like I didn't think that I was ever going to finish it.
Right.
um, but I mean, one of the biggest moments for me was just getting the keys to my studio and just knowing
Mhm.
like, this is my space. This is, this is my business. This is my baby. And it's all me,
Yeah.
and so, yeah,
And you took that
that
risk.
was big for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, definitely from one mom to another, I definitely commend you and congratulations on your
Thank you.
studio. I know it's going to continue to be amazing as it
Thank
has
you.
already thus far. So before we head out, are there any parting words or any advice that you can give to single moms that may be looking to, take it to the next level, but kind of struggling on just finding the right time or finding the balance, or just feeling like they won't be able to accomplish certain goals that they may be set for themselves?
Um, I think I would just like, I think it's easy for us to find excuses not to do things, or excuses for
Mm-hmm.
why things won't work. Um, when we should be just focusing our energy and our talents and our time on making it work.
Right.
Um, so instead of saying like, oh, I could never go back to school because, I'm a mom, saying, okay, how am I going to go back to school? Like,
Right.
what am I going to have to sacrifice? and what am I going to do to get it done? And just knowing that there's not one traditional route that's going to work for everybody. You have to sometimes make your own route and find out what works for you on your own timeline as well.
Exactly. And one word you said there, sacrifice. It definitely takes that sacrifice to really, for anything that you want to do in life, you know, that you want to succeed and excel in. So, well, we definitely are clapping our hands for you over here at the Boss Mom Movement. And I definitely want to give you a chance to let the ladies know how they can find you, re-mention how they can find the book, and then anything else that you have going on that you would like to share.
Okay. Awesome. I am primarily on Instagram. My Instagram is super simple because I have a pretty unique name. So it's at Genetra, Genetra. And if they want to check out my photography, my website is genetrawhite.com. And my book, Girl Do Your Thing, is on Amazon. And I also, earlier this year, but after I released the book, I also released my workbook and planner that goes along with the book. And so it's just kind of a goal setting workbook and financial planner. And that's also available on Amazon as well.
Awesome. And we'll definitely have the links in the show notes, ladies. So you'll be able to easily access all of the places that she just mentioned. But I appreciate you, Genetra, for coming on and sharing your story and just getting to know your background and you a lot more other than what I've seen on Instagram. So I appreciate your time. I know you got a lot going on, but yes, it was great having you. So
yeah, thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah, no problem. And we might be cousins. Ashley White, Genetra White. I don't know, girl, because the Whites, they huge.
Well, it's funny because my husband, his last name is White, and they just had a huge family reunion about 3 weeks ago
really?
in Dallas.
Okay, gotcha. My Whites, they're from Florida. Well, really southern Georgia, but yeah.
You never know.
You don't, you don't, because it's still family members I'm meeting, and I'm like, okay, so where this person? Okay, trying to keep up with it, but no, we are gonna wrap it up, ladies. So again, this is season 5, episode 5 that you are joining, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in for another episode and supporting the movement. As I always say, stay bossy and stay motivated. Until next time, I'll see y'all next week.
Hey ladies, if you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can find the Boss Mom Movement streaming on Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Want to keep up with the movement? Visit my website at thebossmommovement.com and subscribe. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you next time.